All right, let's dive into one of the most brilliant and, frankly, brutal military victories in all of history. This is a story of how one general, the legendary Hannibal Barca, found himself totally outnumbered, deep inside enemy territory, and still managed to engineer the perfect battle. We're talking about the day he handed the mighty Roman Republic its single most devastating defeat. I mean, think about it. It's the ultimate strategic puzzle, right? How do you possibly defeat an army that's nearly twice your size? It should be impossible. But, as we're about to see, in just a single afternoon, one man gave the world a truly terrifying answer. So picture this. The year is 2116 BC. The Second Punic War is in full swing, and Hannibal's army is like a dagger pointed right at the heart of the Roman Republic. What he's about to do, it isn't just a win. No, it's a masterclass in strategy that military minds would study for literally thousands of years. Okay, so to really get a feel for this battle, you have to understand the mood in Rome at the time. And let's be blunt about it, the city was absolutely terrified. This wasn't just another war for them. No, this felt apocalyptic, like the end of the world was knocking at their door. The whole city was gripped by these just terrifying omens. People were reporting showers of stones falling from the sky, statues that were literally smeared in blood. There were even stories of hot springs and the earth itself appearing to bleed. For the Romans, who were incredibly superstitious, you can imagine what this meant. It felt like the gods themselves were screaming that disaster was coming. And you know what? They had every reason to be scared. For 2 solid years, Hannibal had done nothing but make a fool of Rome, right on their own turf, at the Trebia River, at Lake Trasimene. I mean, he had outsmarted and absolutely crushed every single army they threw at him. The pressure in Rome to finally stop this guy was just immense. So, in response, what does Rome do? They assemble the largest army they have ever put together. But here's the thing. An army is only as good as its leaders, and at Cannae, the clash of wills between the commanders was going to be just as crucial as the clash of swords on the battlefield. And Rome's command structure, well, it was a total disaster waiting to happen. On one hand, you've got Aemilius Paulus. He's the experienced, cautious veteran. He gets Hannibal, he's wary of his tricks. On the other hand, you have Terentius Varro. He's ambitious, he's reckless, and he is desperate for a glorious victory. And the fatal flaw in all this? They had to share command, switching off who was in charge every single day. Yeah, you can see where this is going. Now, if you just look at the raw numbers, things look pretty great for Rome. I mean, they've got a massive 2-to-1 advantage in infantry. We're talking a sledgehammer of 80,000 soldiers. But, and this is a huge but, look at the cavalry. That's where Hannibal has the edge. He's got more of them, and frankly, his are better. That one little detail, it's the key to this entire battle. Right before the battle, it was Paulus, the cautious consul, who laid it all out for his troops. He basically said, look, you're not just fighting for a win today. You are fighting for your country, for your families. You're fighting for the very existence of Rome. Every single soldier on that field knew this wasn't just another battle. This was do or die. See, Hannibal wasn't just a genius on the battlefield. He was a master at choosing his ground. Where this battle happened, that was no accident. He engineered the whole thing. He very deliberately baited the huge Roman army onto this wide, flat plain. Why? Because that open ground was the perfect playground for his superior cavalry. It completely took away the Roman infantry's advantage since they were much better on rougher terrain. So you see, the trap was being set long before the first sword was even drawn. And this is where we get to the core of Hannibal's genius. The way he set up his army at Cannae was something the Romans had never, ever seen before. It was a huge gamble, it was a brilliant deception, and honestly, it was a work of art. Okay, so here's how he laid the trap. On the wings, no surprise, he put his best cavalry, ready to just dominate the Roman horsemen. But the really weird part, the really clever part, was the center. He took his weakest troops, the Gauls and Iberians, and arranged them in this bulging crescent shape that bowed out towards the Romans. It was a total invitation, basically screaming, hey, attack me right here. And tucked away on the flanks, kind of hidden, were his best troops, his elite Libyan heavy infantry. So the plan was basically 4 simple, deadly steps. 1, that bulging center acts as the bait. It's meant to get the Roman legions to charge right at it. 2, as the Romans push forward, that weak center is going to slowly, strategically fall back, bending but not breaking, and pulling the Romans deeper and deeper into a U-shaped pocket. 3, Those elite Libyan infantrymen that were hidden on the sides, they're going to wheel inwards and just slam into the Roman flanks, which are now totally exposed. And step 4, the final nail in the coffin, Hannibal's cavalry, which is already won on the wings, is going to circle back around and smash the Roman rear, locking the trap completely shut. A perfect circle. And as fate would have it, it was Varro's day to be in command. And of course, the reckless, glory-seeking consul took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. He ordered a massive, straight-ahead charge, thinking he could just use his numbers to punch right through Hannibal's thin-looking center and win the whole thing in one glorious push. In Hannibal's center, it started to give way, just like he knew it would. The Romans pushed forward. They were screaming, they were cheering, they thought they were winning. But what they didn't realize was that with every single step they took, they were packing themselves in tighter and tighter until their huge army just became this dense, compressed mob of men, so crowded they couldn't even lift their arms to swing a sword. And somewhere in all that chaos, the one guy who saw this coming, Consul Paulus, was mortally wounded. Someone offered him a horse to try and escape, but he refused. His last words really just capture the sheer scale of the disaster. He was a commander who chose to die right there with his soldiers rather than run away and witness the destruction he had tried so hard to prevent. What happened next? You can't even call it a battle anymore. It was a slaughter, just an industrial-scale slaughter. The trap was completely shut, and for the tens of thousands of Roman soldiers packed inside that circle, there was absolutely no way out. The numbers, they're just hard to even comprehend. By the time the sun set, as many as 70,000 Romans and their allies were dead on that field. To this day, it remains one of the single bloodiest days in the history of warfare. And what about Hannibal's losses? Fewer than 6,000 men. Think about that. An army half the size of its enemy pulled off a victory so complete, so lopsided, it's almost unbelievable. It was, simply put, tactical perfection. You have to understand, this was more than just a military defeat. This was a decapitation of the Roman state. A sitting consul, dead. 2 proconsuls, dead. 29 military tribunes, 80 senators, all killed in one afternoon. The Republic's entire leadership class was just gutted. The historian Livy wrote about the end, and his description just captures the sheer desperation, the animal brutality of it all. He tells a story of finding a Numidian soldier dragged out from under a dead Roman, and the Roman, unable to even hold his sword anymore, had died literally trying to bite his enemy to death. Just a horrifying, final act of pure rage and defiance. And really, that's the big question that Cannae leaves us with. After a defeat this total, any other nation in the ancient world would have just collapsed. They would have surrendered. Rome's army was gone. Its leaders were dead. Hannibal was basically at the gates. So how in the world could the Republic possibly survive? The answer to that question? Well, it would go on to define the entire future of the Western world.